Hi there, it's Sasia, and in this video I'll tell you what IELTS writing is about, why I think that this is the most difficult part of the IELTS exam, and what you should do to achieve the score you need. We'll also have a look at some sample answers so you know what the standard is. Okay, let's get started. Let's get straight into it. I think that IELTS writing is the most difficult part of the IELTS exam because most people achieve their lowest score in IELTS writing. So we can see IELTS statistics. And these are results for academic students. And as you can see, the lowest scores are in IELTS writing. For general training, the speaking scores are a bit higher and reading scores are a bit lower, but writing is again the lowest. I'm telling you this not to scare you. I just want you to know what to expect so you could prepare. So why are writing scores so low? Well, that's because in order to get a high score, particularly band 7 and up, you need to fulfill very specific criteria. And just knowing English well is not enough. Of course, your score depends on your vocabulary and grammar, and those matter a lot, and there is no way around it. But knowing English very well doesn't guarantee a high score in IELTS writing. Let me give you a couple of examples. In task 2, you need to write an essay, and every essay should end with a conclusion. But let's say you run out of time and you don't write a conclusion. It may happen. You'll be penalized a lot for that. And you may think, well, my other paragraphs show my ability to write in English quite as well as my conclusion. But that's not how your task will be assessed. No conclusion means that you haven't fulfilled the condition of the task. So your score will go down, even if your vocabulary and grammar are excellent. Or another example, the question is, what are the reasons? And you give one reason. Again, you haven't fulfilled the condition of the task. So your score will go down. Basically, to score high in IELTS writing, you need to have good English skills, but you also need to have certain writing skills, and you need to know what those requirements are, what you're expected to do, and how to fulfill each requirement. We're going to talk about all these requirements a little bit later in the video, but first, let me show you sample answers for each task so you know what you're expected to do and what you should aim for. IELTS writing consists of 2 tasks, Task 1 and Task 2. Task 1 is different depending on whether you take an academic or a general training exam. We'll have a look at both. So academic students need to write a formal report describing charts, tables, maps, or diagrams. Here is an example task. So this one has 3 pie charts. Describing every detail you can see would be a big mistake. Instead, you need to figure out what the main trends, the main patterns are, and what are the key or the most important features, and present those in your report. Here is the sample answer. Please pause the video to read it. I also have separate videos about each sample answer where I explained how it was written and what you need to do, and I will link them in the video description. Okay, this sample consists of 4 paragraphs. An introduction where I presented the information, 2 body paragraphs, and not a conclusion, but an overview, where you give this broad picture, the most important thing you've learned. I know that a lot of people are very surprised to hear that they don't need a conclusion in task 1, but that's true. If you take a general training exam, the first task is a letter. So here is an example task. Here we need to write a letter to a friend. First of all, we have a situation. You're going abroad, a friend will stay in your house. And then you have the task, 3 bullet points. Explain, describe, say. So that's what you need to do. And this letter is to a friend, so it's informal. You may need to write a semi-formal letter, let's say to a colleague at work, or a formal letter to a business. If you'd like to read the task, please pause the video now and let me show you the sample answer. So that's the letter I've written. And you need to be very careful and make sure that you cover each bullet point and you provide enough information about each of them. But you don't include any irrelevant information. And you need to adapt the tone of your letter. If it's informal, the tone should be more informal. But if you write a letter to a business, then the tone should be much more formal. So you need to choose the correct tone. Task 2 is always an essay, and indeed the requirements and types of task are exactly the same for both academic and general training students. The only difference you may notice is in topics. Some of the academic topics are a little bit more academic, while others are more about everyday life, and in general training you always get a question about everyday life. So that's the only difference. You get a statement, so people don't recycle enough, don't recycle waste material, and then the question that you need to answer in your essay. In this case, we need to say what the causes are and what the solutions are. So we call this type of essay a problem solutions essay. Here is a sample answer. And it has a classic structure, an introduction, 2 body paragraphs, which are very, very important. It's important to have long body paragraphs where you develop your ideas, and a conclusion. Perhaps you've noticed that task 2 is longer than task 1. Indeed, you need to write more than 250 words in task 2 and more than 150 words in task 1. So task 2 is more important, and indeed it weighs 2/3 of your writing score, and task 1 weighs only 1/3. But to be honest, it's pretty hard to achieve a certain score if you don't get both tasks right. The only thing is, I think it's really worth spending more time on the second task, 40 minutes as recommended. And sometimes I even start with the second task to make sure that I have enough time, and then I finish with the first task. You can absolutely do that, so check if it works for you. Now let's talk about the IELTS writing requirements and how you can fulfill them. We know what the requirements are because we have access to the public version of IELTS band descriptors. So these are documents that list all the requirements, and you can see the 4 criteria at the top and each band score on the left-hand side, and you see all the requirements there. Task 1 and Task 2 are assessed separately, and examiners use 4 criteria to assess each task. Here they are. Task achievement for the first task, or task response for the second task. Basically, it means how well you fulfill each condition of your task. Have you done what you were required to do? Then coherence and cohesion. Perhaps you don't know those words, but don't worry. Your essay is coherent if it has a clear structure. If your ideas follow one from another, if it's easy to read and understand your answer. And it's coherent if the sentences inside your answers are connected to each other, if one smoothly follows from the previous one. So that's coherence and cohesion. The next one is lexical resource, or your vocabulary. And examiners assess how many words you know and how many mistakes you make. And grammatical range and accuracy, or your grammar, again, assessed based on how many grammatical structures you know and how many mistakes you make. So some requirements are simply written and are easy to understand, but some are kind of implied. So let me show you a few examples. One of the requirements is to fully answer the task. And you may think, what's the problem? It's obvious, but you won't believe it how many people have problems with meeting this requirement. Remember the example I gave you earlier about reasons? What are the reasons? If you give just one reason, well, you haven't fully answered the task. Or the task may say, what should be done by the governments and the individuals? And if you only say what the governments should do, again, you haven't fully answered the task. So your score will go down. Another requirement is to develop your ideas. And that means that you should take one idea, explain why it matters, show how it affects the situation, give an example, and then smoothly arrive to the next idea, and so on. Let's say you have an essay about the advantages and the disadvantages of something. And if you just name those advantages, saying firstly, this is an advantage and that is an advantage, and also this and that are also advantages, you will get a very low score. You need to explain why each advantage matters. And here we can talk about the next requirement. Paragraphing is appropriate. It's very important to have a clear structure in your answer and to split it into paragraphs. But what's more, you need to have one idea per paragraph. You need to talk about one thing, and then when you start talking about the next thing, you should start the next paragraph. And you also need to have a topic sentence in each paragraph. The first sentence should say what the whole paragraph is about, and you really need to plan your essay in order to be able to do that. These are not all the requirements, it's just a taster. You need to find out what those requirements are and how to meet each of them. You should also learn how to answer each type of task. So let's quickly have a look at them. In Task 1 Academic, you may get charts, tables, maps, and diagrams. There are different types of charts, but it doesn't matter which type you get. What matters is if your charts have a timeline, have dates, or don't have them, because the structure of your essay and what you write about, of your report, will depend on that. But let's say you have 2 maps. Then you know that you need to describe the first map, and then you need to describe the changes that happened or proposed changes. And you need to mention each element of the map without forgetting or omitting anything. If you know that, you'll be able to write your report more quickly. Task 1 General Training. You need to write a letter, informal, semi-formal, or formal. So you should be able to quickly determine what type of letter you have. And you need to know what tone you should use in this particular type of letter. Task 2, we have 5 types of questions. And if you know them, you'll be able to quickly determine what type of essay you need to write and how you should structure this particular type of essay. It will save you time during your exam. And you'll be so short of time in IELTS writing that if something can save you time, you should absolutely do that. You should also learn how to manage your time. You need to learn how to finish both tasks in 60 minutes. If you don't write a conclusion in task 2 or don't write an overview in task 1, that will be a costly mistake. So to have the best chance of passing your exam, you need to finish both tasks. Ideally, you need to finish even earlier and have some time to proofread your answers, because I can guarantee that you will find quite a few mistakes yourself. And then your score may be a little bit higher, because if you correct them yourself, you will have fewer mistakes. Okay, so you should practice writing your essays. I think Cambridge practice tests are great. They are the closest to the real exams. Number 16 is the latest book, but you can use books number 14 or 15. It's not a problem. You can also download recent questions from real exams on our Telegram channel. will be linked in the description. And if you take a paper-based exam, you should write some of your practice answers on the official answer sheet using a pencil. Then you won't need to count words during your exam. You will know how long your answers should be. And you also need to make sure that your task 2 can fit on a single sheet of paper, because if you need to ask for the second sheet during the exam, you will lose some time on that. I know it sounds like a lot, but actually a lot of time is spent on searching for information. And I think that my courses can really help you prepare in less time and achieve a higher score. You will find everything you need in one place, and you follow the lessons step by step with lots of examples. You learn how to meet each Band 7+ requirement and how to answer each type of task. I have courses for writing and speaking. And for listening and reading, you'll find a detailed PDF guide. That's because I believe that for those 2 sections, all you need is my free YouTube videos and official practice tests. And that PDF guide will take you through the preparation step by step. Okay, I will link them in the description. If you're interested, please check them out. And to kick off your preparation, you can download my IELTS Writing Task 2 workbook. It's a PDF guide with different types of tasks, topics, requirements, and the official answer sheet. And you can download it right now. Thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam.